Hi, my name is Kathy Skipper and I'm a menopause midwife. In this video, I'm going to give you 7 tips that I'm hoping will help you as you go into the internal processes of the menopause journey. So the first tip, I wonder if there's enough light. The first tip is that this is a multifaceted and very dynamic process. It's not linear. You can't control it. You have to trust it. It has many different aspects to it, which will come up in their own time. The internal journey or the underworld journey of reclaiming these fragmented parts of the feminine so we can move into our sovereign womanhood in the best possible way involves working with the unconscious. And the unconscious has its own language, its own timing, its own symbols, and we just have to learn them and trust them. That's what makes it multifaceted and dynamic. The other aspect of this is that it involves different parts of ourselves. It involves, as I always say, our physical body, our emotional body, our mental body, and our spiritual body. Point 2, we have to make intentional efforts in order to live through this process in the most empowering and effective way possible. So, like any initiation, the initiation of menopause is not going to be easy. And it doesn't just happen because you get to 50 years old or 45 years old. It happens because you commit to it. You are courageous. You confront yourself. You confront any challenges that come up. You feel the feelings. You trust and let go and allow this deeper part of yourself to appear and to guide you. All that needs intentional effort, commitment. 3, there's a need to cultivate greater self-awareness. I mean, in a way, the greater self-awareness is part of the gifts of the journey. We are not the same person when we come out of this type of menopause experience, which can last 2 to 10 years, depending on the woman, than we are when we went in. And that's not just because we've changed physically and we've got grayer hair and we've got older. It's because we've been through something. We have gone into the depths of ourself. We have trusted that we will be guided to find parts of ourselves that have been abandoned, buried, denigrated, not just by us, but by generations of women who went before us. We've confronted terrifying parts of ourselves. We have expressed ourselves in the best way we can in order to understand ourselves by using the language of the underworld or the unconscious, such as collage and artwork or nature or poetry or dance or singing or voice work or body work or whatever it is that we've chosen to support us on this journey. It has given us more and more awareness of who we are. And that is the point. We've become more and more whole as we go through this journey towards sovereign womanhood. 4, this really follows on from that, is that it's about realizing one's full potential. So we have no idea when we start this journey of perimenopause the possibility of who we can become. In the same way as the caterpillar who finds itself in its own chrysalis does not know that it's going to become a butterfly. It trusts. It goes through the process because somehow that's the natural continuum, but it doesn't know either that it's going to become a butterfly or what type of butterfly it's going to become. However, there are imaginal cells in the caterpillar that know, that are programmed. And in a way, all of our potential is already there. It already exists, but we have no idea who she is. When I went into perimenopause, I was a bit of a wreck, to tell you the truth. And I didn't know the story that I would unfold. I didn't know that the story was the wound and the other side of that wound was who I was. And I would find myself. It took me a number of years in the underworld and a great commitment. But ultimately, I found out who I am, and I can live my fullest potential every day because of that. So just realizing that this is a journey of finding our fullest potential. It isn't a journey of decline and of symptom-based awareness that we're fed by the mainstream. This is a journey of the feminine self on a quest to piece together all the pieces that have been lost along the way so she can re-emerge a beautiful sovereign woman. Shadow work. So number 5 is shadow work. And I probably, like many of you, when I was younger and I was learning about sort of self-awareness and self-healing, I would read about shadow work, and it always sort of worried me a bit. What's in my shadow? Maybe some dark, terrible part of myself. I had so much lack of self-worth that it must be awful who I am in my shadow. And one thing that I will remind you is that your biggest potentials, women's most powerful aspects, most creative aspects, most primordially feminine and empowered parts of themselves are usually buried deep in the shadow. So the shadow work is really, really important. And I would say that shadow work is a part of the work of the unconscious, of diving into the underworld. There's the personal shadow, there's the collective shadow. And we work with our personal shadow, but there's always this resonance with the collective shadow. I'll talk more about shadow work in future videos, but it's suffice to say in this video that working with our shadow, exploring our shadows and the shadow of our mother lines is primordial for this piecing together of the feminine sovereign self. Number 6, cultivating a deeper connection with our soul. Well, that for me, the soul is the divine aspect of the feminine. And so this really is a soul-making journey. And I say soul-making because in a way we're retrieving these lost parts of our soul and we're putting them together in this beautiful quilt. We're making her whole again. And the soul is embodied and eternal. It comes through the generations of maternal inheritance. The feminine is the gatekeeper of embodied ancestral stories of ancestrality. And soul is part of that. It didn't start with us, it started thousands of generations before. And we are the hands and the eyes and the feet and the arms and the mouths and the ears of a huge line of maternal inheritance, and our soul comes through and through us. So that work on the soul and what it means to you and how you feel it and that divine feminine is also a major part of the work of perimenopause. And lastly, seeking wholeness over goodness. This is really important because I think, especially women, when women get into spirituality or into self-finding, don't fall into the trap of it being all light and love and speaking very lightly and there's no darkness. Well, that's impossible. There is only light because there is darkness. And darkness is where the dark goddess is. Darkness is where the baby grows in the womb. It's where the seeds start to sprout in the earth. So darkness is not something bad. It is deeply feminine. And we, in order to be whole, we need to encounter the darkness and the dark goddess and honor her. And so wholeness is also seeing our dark parts. It's seeing all of us. That's what wholeness is. It's not just looking at the light. There would be no light if there was no darkness. So, and goodness is an impossibility. No one is entirely good or bad. And I think good or bad aren't even the adjectives that we need to think about. What we need to think about is wholeness, piecing these parts of ourselves together without judgment. Okay, well, I hope that was helpful. Lots of love.